famed NHL pugilist. I believe he's referred to himself as a thug when we were chatting. Good morning, Barney. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How are you guys?
Very well, thank you. I was impressed that you stayed up late Saturday night watching your Twitter, watching the Battle of Alberta. You see the discussion that we're having here, and I'll get your thoughts on that. But what did you think about the game itself?
Well, I thought it was awesome. I can go back to Thursday. First of all, a lot of times, the game doesn't live up to the hype, and there certainly was a lot of hype, not only in Canada, where you would think Calgary and Edmonton, where it would be most prevalent, but around the National Hockey League, North America, anyone that was a hockey fan was tuning in and trying to find out exactly what went on. And what made it great was it was organic, and it was organic hatred between two teams in the same province. And obviously, both teams that are playoff teams and at the same time are relevant in the National Hockey League. I think that's a big part of the storyline. You don't have one team that's way out of the playoffs and one team that's very good. So the organic hatred, I thought, was great. It lived up to all hype that was expected going in, and I thought it was great for the game. Anytime you have hatred between two teams, especially two teams that have had such a storied storyline for them, and over the years we've seen many 5-on-5 brawls and hatred just amongst them. It's great for the game.
Oh, Barney, if you were watching it, which you were, you would have seen they showed George Paris up in the press box, and honestly, when I heard he was in for the two games, I'm like, why are they doing this? They're not 12. Let them settle it. And then he's there, and they fight anyways. So how does that make Paris and the NHL head office look?
Well, I thought it was a surprise that they did go in, and I've been involved with Philadelphia and the Toronto Maple Leafs where they knew when we were coming into town how it was going to play out. And we were warned before the games. It didn't stop us. I just think it stops you from going over the line, taking cheap shots. They know there's going to be fights, or there is that opportunity. Hey, it's legal in our game. You get 5-minute major and you're back out. So I don't think you are going to stop that. I think the goaltenders going at it, Mike Smith coming to center ice, and obviously Talbot coming out and accepting that challenge. But they did an amazing job of creating a spark, having that hatred within the game, and also staying within the lines. There was nothing that was way over the top. There was no real cheap shots taken in the game. I think we can look at the Giordano one. I don't think it was malicious. It could have been very ugly. I probably would have handled it differently if I was McDavid or someone else on the Edmonton Oilers. But all in all, it was just good hatred, great for the game, and they stayed within the lines even with the big brass there.
Matt, we're all watching this Battle of Alberta, and it's just putting us back into this great memory, of the hockey we've grown up watching. What did it do for you? Where did your mind go back to? What was the best kind of hatred rivalry that you were a part of?
Yeah, I think the Legion of Doom, and that's a great point. I listened to you guys earlier on. I was part of that era, and I was one of those guys that was part of the stage fighting. And a lot of that had to do with having an afternoon nap, knowing you had to fight Eric Lindros or Donald Brashear or George Larac all afternoon, and you wanted to get out of the way right away. So that's where I think a lot of the stage fighting happened. You knew you had to fight. In today's day and age, you don't have to. If Matthew Tkachuk didn't want to fight, he doesn't have to. We had to, or you got the living tar beat out of you, and you just didn't defend yourself. So I think that's where a lot of it came. Do I miss it? Absolutely not. The game's never been in a better spot. I think what makes this Battle of Alberta and those two games is it's so out of the norm from what we see every night. And I don't want to see 3 fights every night. I like seeing organically, like it did happen, but it certainly does take me back to the mid-90s, playing against the Legion of Doom and Eric Lindros and Donald Brashear rolling into Toronto, knowing we had Brad May and Rob Ray, Bob Bugner, myself, and they had Ty Domi and Nick Kiprios and Ken Bobcartner, and you knew it was going to be ugly. You knew that whole week leading into that game how it was going to transpire, and you were just hoping to leave alive.
See, that's kind of what I mean with the pendulum. Maybe, hopefully, swinging back into this place where there's still a real place for it in an organic way, and you can have some sandpaper in the lineup. But do you think this is one and done? Like, this is going to be, confined to the Battle of Alberta? Or do you think this is something we might see grow a little bit more hatred in the game?
I think it grows. I don't think it's going to get to that point like we saw on Saturday night, but I do think that there is a general hatred, and again, two teams are competing in the same division. They're in the same province. Like I said, they are so close to each other. The fan bases are so close. And I think guys like to be a part of something that's really big and that everyone watches, and everyone in Canada is watching. They're going to tune into the next one. And, when they play the last game of the year, I don't think anything happens there because you're probably going to be set in the playoff picture and it doesn't really play a spot. But if these two teams do play in the playoffs, it's going to be hockey. But when games get out of hand, there's going to be message sending. I just think they're at that point there where there is general hatred. And when, it isn't planned or it isn't staged, certainly it takes on a life of its own. But I do agree with you. If you don't like this kind of hockey or you don't like what you saw on Thursday or Saturday night, don't watch hockey because it was great for the game.
Barney, one memory lane trip, by the way. I don't remember if it was somewhere I heard you say or you told me about getting death threats in hotels on the road with the Sabres. It reminded me of needing a police escort into WHL games for me as the radio guy. I think that's why you and I hit it off. But can you tell about the stories of needing death threats? And I would think looking back, that was a hell of a lot of fun, or were you legitimately scared?
It was a hell of a lot of fun. I absolutely loved it. It was Philadelphia in the early 90s. I came in 93, 94 and really solidified myself in probably 96, 97. And we played Philadelphia a bunch of years. And, we were just getting cell phones. I mean, we had it, but, we still had the hotel phones where, Philadelphia are the craziest fans in the world. They're absolutely insane. There's a reason why they had a makeshift jail in the football stadium with the Eagles, because they are absolutely nuts. But yes, I would get calls all night just saying if I walked in the building, I was going to get shot. And then they would be coming by your hotel all night long, beeping their horns, trying to keep you up all night long. So it was a crazy time. I was never scared. Obviously, I reported it to our security. And walking into the building, there's actually a perch up above where the visiting team walks in and getting out of the cab or out of the bus. And I always wore a really crappy suit when I went into Philadelphia because they would just douse me with beer and everything before the game. So, but I absolutely loved it. If they were cheering for Matthew Barnaby going into an opposing rink, I certainly wasn't doing my job.
No kidding. Good explanation. Anything else on your mind this morning? The Leafs implosion, or what else is on your mind today? What else are you going to be talking about today on the power play?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. The Leafs obviously are up close and up front and center this morning after having a 3-1 lead on Florida with no Barkov in the lineup. They dominated that game. Then Freddie Anderson, arguably their MVP the last year and a half, goes down. You're just hoping for him and Maple Leafs fans out there that he's going to be all right, because Hutchinson is just not a guy that can carry the mail. Look for them to do something February 24th if that doesn't happen. You look at Nashville in the Western Conference. Can they get on a roll? This is a team that's expected to win, but we see every day the standings are crazy, absolutely insane. With losing 2 games in a row, you almost fall out of a playoff position. You win 3 in a row and you catapult up into top 3 in the conference. So should be a great end to this season, a big push from a lot of teams, but certainly a lot of surprises and a lot of teams. And like I said, having Edmonton and Calgary doing what they're doing, Vancouver what they're doing, it's been an exciting time for Western Canadian teams especially.
Absolutely, and we're right in the middle of it. Barney, as always, love it. Be listening for you later today. Thanks for the time.
Awesome. Keep up the great work, guys. Love being on.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.